You're listening to Sarah Hagan Backstage, with interviews and insights from years inside the music industry. Join Sarah as she talks with masters of their crafts, finding out what makes them tick both inside and outside of the music business.
Kevin Murphy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you doing?
I'm at home sick with COVID for the second time.
Oh, no. How are you feeling?
Or band guy I gave it to, but I don't feel bad this time around because I'm boosted and vaxxed, and I've had it before, so I think I'm just like, feel like crap. I think I'll probably still be able to play this weekend. I'll probably be negative by tomorrow.
Good. Yeah. So you just retest, and then when you're negative, you're good to go.
Yeah. Good. And the beauty of my situation with Jon Pardi, the artist I work for, is that our tour manager was a touring drummer. Our monitor engineer is a drummer, and Will and Jeff, our stage right and stage manager and stage right tech, and my tech, Jeff, Will Easterwood and Jeff Brown, are both very, very good drummers. So they don't have to fly anybody in. So I'm kind of safe. There's in country, a lot of people will do gigs that they shouldn't be doing, or they're scared to sub out a gig because they'll just lose their job.
Right.
There's not a lot of artists. Full disclosure on Nashville, there's a lot of people that are artists that say the word loyalty and they throw family and they're liars. Most of them will fire you very quickly for almost no reason. And luckily, my guy is super cool, and he knows that now. He knows that if I'm sick or I'm not going to, sub out a show because I want to go to somebody's wedding. If somebody's getting married on a day, I've got a gig. Sorry, I'm not going to make your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody close to me passes away, or if, Maddie graduated for something or JoJo's graduating for something, if there's something big or I'm sick, John knows that 4 people on our staff can just can
sit in and
the show,
That's
so
amazing.
If I can't make it to Missouri this weekend, I know that Jeff will have me covered. So
that's so comforting to know. And I know that just like anywhere else, the music industry is it can be tough, and you're right. You could lose your spot in a second. I've heard some really great stories about seats being held for people while they were sick or in a car accident, or I'm thinking about Kent Slucher with his accident with Luke Bryan, and those stories, Greg Lohman when he was in that car accident, those stories just warm my heart because
Greg's wasn't even a car. The accident, the stuff you just listed off is the horrific stuff.
I know.
Greg wasn't even a car accident. He was accordioned by a FedEx truck or something. He was broken in half effectively. Yes. Everybody rallied. But again, the people like Luke I've hung out with Luke, and Kent's boss. He's a sweetheart.
Yes.
I hope he still is. He's more famous now. But guys like that coming to your aid and not abandoning you, and artists like that rather, that's really important. I know that, and I have some good stories about artists too, but there's some bad ones, and unfortunately it's scary to oh man, if I get COVID and have to lay out for 2 weeks, am I gonna get fired?
Yes.
A lot of people deal with that. I'm lucky that I don't have that fear. I think if John fires me, it'd be just because I'm a cranky old dick. I don't think it'll be because he hates my drumming or that I got sick or something. I think it'll just be Kevin's grumpy. Get rid of him.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, let's touch on the Kevin's grumpy thing for a second, because I just enjoy your sense of humor so much. And from the moment that I met you, I was just okay. I just get this guy and we can riff off each other. And, but when I met you, the day that I met you, we had great conversation, and we were in a group of drummers. Of course, we were at a drummer hang, and which is always fun. And everyone's giving each other a hard time because that's what happens. And, it's just the community. But you reminded me of somebody, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I don't know if you remember this, but we talked on the phone the next day, and it had finally popped into my head. And I was like, Kevin, I have to just tell you who it is that you remind me of. And you were like, okay, lay it on me. And I said, you reminded me in the very, very best way of Negan from the show The Walking Dead. And
I forgot that. You know what's funny is my partner JoJo is going to be texting you later and be like, "You're right. I love that actor."
yes, I can't think of his name. I'll think of it.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Jeffrey Dean
yeah,
Morgan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm actually one of the bass player. That picture over my shoulder for Hauser is very close with has known Hillary,
yes,
that actor's wife, and also an actor and a great actor. So he knows all of them, and part of me wanted to be like, if I'm ever next to him, people are going to realize how short I am because he's a monster apparently. But I'm perfectly fine with people thinking I have that kind of swagger. I'll take it. I won't hit anyone in the head with a bat anymore. In my 20s, I was a different person. I think that honestly, I think that the humor. I think that a lot of people that think I'm grumpy, because I'm not particularly dry, but I am blunt.
Yes.
So when I say, something political or whatever online, and I'll be like, you should take inventory of that if you believe this.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, maybe I'm calling you dumb, maybe I'm not, but I'm really honestly just saying, hey, buddies, if you believe this, you should do some homework.
Right. Well, you're asking people to think about things, right?
I ran into Rich Redmond the other day in town, and I remember we were laughing about how the first time he and I ever had a drink, we got a beer together. Like, I don't know, it must have been 15, 16 years ago, probably. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was like, hey, Rich, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but just listen. Truman Drops the Bomb got 3 exclamation points on its headline. You being available on Tuesday for a session between 3 and 5 does not warrant 5. And I remember right then we were locked in as brothers because he just howled. He was like, "You're right, buddy. It doesn't, but I'm still gonna do it." Like,
that was a perfect Rich Redmond impersonation, by the way. And
I can do Rich pretty good. He one time he had one of those battery packs on your phone, that's like makes it bigger. And it was the first time I'd ever seen one. I was like, what's that, Rich? And he was like, bro, listen, you gotta get one of these, and when you charge it up, it feeds it all day because you gotta stay juiced. And then every time, now if me or Ben or Rob or Keo or Nick, when we see Rich, it's like, you gotta stay juiced. I might make like a Redmond cartoon shirt where he's like, and it's like, that look
yeah, you have to have the bubble too. The bubble with him saying that.
He's always got his mouth open. He's like, I might do like, you gotta stay juiced. One day I'll make one.
That would be incredible. I will buy one of those shirts.
I'll send you a gotta stay juiced Redmond shirt.
I love it, and I love Rich, and he's just such a personality. That is so perfect, and
the thing about Redmond is he's in on it. And I've had people, and I've told people this, so people, don't get. I hope nobody comments like, "Why is he, talking shit about Rich?" I'm totally not. I love Rich.
No.
I've had the conversation. We've laughed at people commenting, really coming after him. The other day, when we were laughing at this guy, was like, "Why does this guy look like he's working so hard to play this basic garbage?" And Rich was like, because he knows that if you took that person.
Yes.
Plucked them out of their home and dragged them to a stage in front of 60,000 people and dropped them behind Rich's kit, they would absolutely check.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
100%. They would lock up and be like, and they would try to play all their, and it wouldn't translate and they would fall apart. So it's kind of funny, but it's also funny because Rich is in on it. There are other drummers that we all know that don't get it. Whatever it is, they just don't get it. And they're always like, jockeying for position on some weird, like somehow they think they're going to die, and like some old guy in a beard's going to give them a ribbon if they were like the better drummer or they had more followers. I don't know what they think, but like Redman gets it. He really just wants to further what Dom has done for 50 years. Like he wants to be, and man, I hope I'm pulling for Dom.
So we're talking about Dom Famularo for anyone who's listening and doesn't know. Dom is a legend, an absolute legend, educator, speaker, motivator. He's kind of like, well, he's the global ambassador. We call him the drumming's global ambassador. Yes, and he just is going through pancreatic cancer right now. So we're all thinking about him and pulling for him. And he came through his surgery, and he's in recovery right now. So, but yeah,
I think Rich picked up his thing. I think it's a combination of Dom and Tony Robbins, and he was like, yes. And I think that honestly, I think if you pulled Rich aside and you were like, "Hey, what do you really want to do in life?" I think he'd probably be like, "I want to host Wheel of Fortune."
He would be an incredible Wheel of Fortune host.
I would watch him doing like Family Feud. Would he be even better?
Oh yeah, Family Feud. That is even more perfect for him. But like you're touching on like the fact that so people like Rich have really like made a place for themselves in this industry, and you joke about the exclamation points, but like his personality just comes through in everything he does, even written, and it's fantastic.
And that's what he is. Like I've known Rich and consider him a friend. And yeah, can he be cheesy sometimes? That's his shtick. And he writes he wants to do clinics for kids. I literally have told people I don't want to do clinics for kids, and I don't teach beginners.
Yes.
Beginners because I can't give them basically this. I can't take beginners and I can't start them as well as a lot of my friends. I would rather them just go to one of my pals' clinics or read their books who really can explain who really understand the pedagogy behind educating, either young people or people new to the craft.
Right.
People that are more advanced can actually benefit from the stuff. I'm going to talk about how they adjust their feel and the spaces in between the notes, and I'm going to talk about stuff that is useless to an intermediate to beginner, a beginner to intermediate. But I could have a conversation with, if I ever meet Ash, we could have a conversation about that and benefit from it. I don't know if I'm going to meet him. I'm going to go see him with Tori in Cincinnati later this month.
Oh, nice.
Week after next, and I just have tickets, but I've been bugging Keo to introduce me to him.
Yes, well, you should definitely meet him. I just saw him in Boston, and it was so good. It was so good, and the musicianship on stage, the three of them together.
Well, he's playing for Tori Amos, and like if you don't like Tori Amos, you don't like talented musicians.
Well, I mean, you know what? And you don't have to know her music or know anything about her to like sincerely appreciate that show from start to finish.
Oh, everyone on that deck is a Goliath at their instrument. So but I'm hoping to meet him. But anyway, the reason I brought him up was to say, like, that's the kind of people that will benefit from the conversations I want to have.
Right. But it's great for you to acknowledge that. Like, some people really connect with beginner drummers and kids on that level, and it's good for you to acknowledge that. Like, everyone has their space, right?
Everyone has their lane, and some people choose to be motivators or inspiring figures. At the end of the day, man, like Ludwig and Sabian and Aquarian and Vader, these friends and companies work with me to help me tour and help me do what I do. But maybe I don't know, you'll know better than I, but maybe they do the math and go, oh, this guy plays for somewhere between 1 million and 2 million people a year. And percentage wise, 4% of them are probably drummers, and if 4% of them are drummers, there's X amount of people, and if 2% of those people go buy one thing, giving them these drums are paid for. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
If somebody's got 1 million followers or 200,000 followers on Instagram or a bunch of TikTok, they're reaching just as many people.
Yeah. It is crazy how things have shifted. And like you and I have had this discussion before too. I came into the industry at a time where we would look at record sales and, concert attendance and all that. That's how we figured out, like, if someone had influence in the industry as far as endorsements go. And it's so different now. I mean, that's still incredibly important. And the live music thing, and I talk about it all the time on this podcast, but live music is so incredibly important to all of us and to like the world. We need it. We need that connection. We need to see musicians playing together, like that thing that happens, that, like, I call it magic, but it is magic. It's the thing that happens when you're creating music together and the audience is taking it in and giving it back, and it's just something magical. But when you talk about like the online influence, especially after COVID, like, that was what was happening. We all kind of learned to embrace it a little bit more because we had to, right? We were like, okay, well, we're not being seen out there. We're not seeing each other in person. How are we going to connect with each other, with our audience? But yeah, companies definitely look at the fact that, there is, so someone's out there, say they have, 500,000 followers on a social platform. And a lot of times it's like a captured audience that is into whatever that is. Because if you're, I follow a bunch of drummers. If you look on my Instagram and see who I follow, it's a whole lot of drummers. But like it's the audience, it's the consumer that you want to reach. And a lot of companies, I think, have reached a point on social media where they aren't growing their following necessarily, but in order to reach those people out there, and like a lot of times like a younger demographic, they need to seed product with other influencers. And so,
Yeah, my only issue with it anymore is, it's not like I don't want to do a grumpy boomer thing where it's like, stay in your lane, but stay in your damn lane. Like, here's the thing: there are people, there are people that I know that are like drum coaches or whatever, and they're or whatever they are, and they're trying to present themselves as experts in a field that they are not experts in.
Sure.
So I don't want to see. You know what? I want to see that the Cooper kid. I want to see him do his online thing. He creates a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Be the inspiration that you have been for a decade or whatever. You're an inspiring kid. You have millions of followers. They go there to be like titillated by it, and maybe there's probably a lot more people playing drums today because of him than because of me. Do it. But I don't want a lesson from that person on how to manage the studio environment on a high pressure session.
Sure.
You want to hear that from, Ash.
Yeah.
Done, who when you turn on the radio and you hear Adele, he was on that session.
Right.
It became the biggest song in the world. Well, let me hear that story. When I hear people that can't get work and can't get tours and they get fired every time they get a gig, and and they're trying to teach the world how to be a pro touring drummer. No, shut up. Just do whatever you do and be good at that. Are you a good drummer? Do you create good sounds? Are you a content creator? Cool. Do your little 15-second reels and do that. But what pisses me off is when I see people that are like, oh, well, I'll give advice on like, how to get endorsements and tour. Well,
yeah.
You're the guy that gets fired from everything. Don't give advice to kids on how to tour. Let me do that. I've paid my bills touring since '93.
Yeah.
I'm never unemployed. Let me do that. Let Steve Nister, there's like a list of people I can give you. Let Redmond do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good though. Like, people will come to you. If someone comes to you and they ask for something and you're like, yeah, that's not my thing, but go see so-and-so. Like, I think that's the best part about this industry is like, good passing people along to the right area. Like, this is the person you want to talk to about that. And I do want to talk about your touring history too, because, you are in Nashville.
Yeah.
Playing with Jon Pardi now, but you have had this history of like rock drumming, and you and I have talked a lot about rock drumming, of course, and Zeppelin and all that fun stuff. But let's go like way back beginning Kevin Murphy drummer days. How did you even get started?
A lot of people have asked me, or not a lot. I think people say, a lot of people have asked me what my cymbal setup is, which means 3 people have asked. If I get one person that's like, give me a tour of your kit, I'm like, people need to see a tour of my kit.
I love
really,
that.
I want to see everybody's drum set. You know what I mean?
Yes, me too.
I'm a nerd for that shit. Wait till you see my new drum set.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's not new, so I can divulge. Uli wasn't going to be able to get me. I wanted concert Tom Vista lights, 8 to 8, like huge, but they couldn't get them in time because COVID. Everyone's still catching up, right?
Yes.
I called Brady for heads, and he was like, we're looking for aluminum right now," and I was like, "Gotcha, I'll call you in 3 months."
Yeah.
But, they just added stuff to my Red Sparkle kit, so it's going to be 4 up, 2 down.
Oh my gosh.
3 snares, 3 hats.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be stupid, and you're going to love it.
That's great. I can't wait to see it.
Anyway, people have asked how I got started. People have actually asked that. And it's funny. It's weird. I think this goes back to what we were saying a minute ago. Like the first thing you do is you get going, right? So whatever inspires you, a family member, a friend, music, whatever you play in your garage, whatever gets you going, get going. At some point, and it's up for each person to decide for him or herself, you have to choose. You don't have to choose a lane and stay in it forever, but you have to choose what your focus you would like to be, because you have to start working. You can't learn it all. And then you can learn it all as you go through life. But if you want to make a living out of it, you got to get kicking, right? So for me, I chose the live thing early. I enjoy the energy of that. I was 14 and played my first VFW hall or whatever, and kept going. And I lived in rural Virginia, in a little town called Orange, Virginia, which was near Charlottesville. And then I smashed myself in a car accident, and I was moved up to DC area in Arlington. And then I started going to like go-go and hardcore shows. And the energy, and you may not like, somebody listening may be like, I don't like hardcore. I tried to listen to Bad Brains when I saw that guy's shirt on the Nirvana video. They suck. No. The energy from those groups was why they existed, right? And I think that energy is what brought me in early. So I was a live guy for sure. And what I just did, I went to college, went to drum corps. I was going to be a composition band director, double guy, whatever. And at the time, no part of me thought that I could compose for movies and stuff like that. I didn't think about that. So I figured, I'm going to be a band director. And I realized I was going to suck at it. And I had some good friends there that were going to be great at it. And they are. They still are. A couple have retired and one has passed away recently. But, my instructor, Randy Sanderbeck, at my college was like, yeah, you're going to be a terrible band director. I've been waiting for you to quit for 3 years.
Oh, no.
So I went on the road. And my path, that is the very long preamble to this answer. I made sure that I lived, ate, slept, breathed, loved playing live. It wasn't about hooking up. It wasn't about drugs. I mean, I partied and I had my issues with things, but like the goal wasn't like, I just want to go have fun. The goal was that I wanted to do bigger and bigger and bigger and better stuff. So when I would play a show and I opened up for ARU and Jeff Sipe would be playing drums and I would see this maniac behind the kit that is staggering to watch him play, I instead of being like, oh no, I'd be like, I want that. Better than him. Still not. But that's what I wanted. So I played with such a tenacity and I was so voracious for like information and how to do it. And I benefited from drum corps because my hands were really fast. Really strong when I was in my early 20s. And that carried me when my intellect and taste and stylistic choices failed me. My facility would sometimes carry me over that bar line, right? So I could stay alive for long enough to get hired away from each gig. So I was in like a funk thing called Full Stop, and then this bigger dinosaur called Egypt that was like this like Parliament meets King's X, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
funky thing. Took me out of Full Stop, and I did that, and then Earth to Andy was this band that I created. We created out of that. We got signed, went to Warner Brothers, and then Jimmy's Chicken Shack pulled me out of there. So I was in the pop punk thing for a while, pop punk, whatever that is, indie pop thing for a while, and then Tonic. I was still doing with Earth to Andy stuff, and we opened up for Tonic, and then they needed a sub for a month. It ended up being 11 years. So they pulled me out of that, and that's what happened. My path to it was really just play your ass off and be cool and not take yourself too seriously, but take the drumming very seriously. And you'll just keep getting hired away. Now, does it make me non-loyal? I don't think so. I think I was honest about where I was and what those bands were capable of. I mean, a bunch of those bands got record deals. I've signed like 7 record deals.
Wow. Yeah, and I have to say too, I just reached out to you recently because randomly the Jimmy's Chicken Shack song Hi, I think that's the name of it. Hi, popped into my head. It just popped into my head out of nowhere. And I was like, what? That song, such a great song. And I, of course, looked it up and listened to it. And then I saw your name associated with it. And I was like, Kevin.
Now, here's the deal. I didn't track that song, but I joined that band after that album had come out. That was Jimmy Chaney. And but I loved playing that.
Oh my God.
The funny thing is, he moves like it moves against the click. They don't think they did it with a click when they tracked it. So it goes and that section that goes right towards the end where it's doing that halftime thing.
Yes.
There's a lot of big fills that go back into the back to go to the ending, and he goes do gat do do gat to gat do gat gat do. He does this like Krupa kind of thing.
Yes.
And he speeds way up, and there's and he drags it back. I actually recreated the wobbliness every night because it felt right to me. I caught so much shit from people that were like, online were like, his time's terrible. And they didn't realize that, no, I made a choice. I could have played that to a click, and that band would have followed me because they're great musicians and they were great guys. Yeah. And we're still really good friends. They would have followed me if I wanted to keep it straight, but it didn't feel right when I tried it to keep it straight. It felt better being indie rock that moved back and pushed forward and breathed a little bit. So I caught hell for doing something purposely, chasing the arc of this time. I caught hell for years for playing that song that way, but I love that song.
It's so I can't hear it any other way either, and I love. And that's my favorite part of the whole song, of course, being a drummer. And it is so funny. I was talking to somebody recently about how I can identify my favorite part of, even if it's just a tiny piece like that of any song, in my head, I'm like, ooh, my favorite part's coming up, always, right? How funny is that? You just identified that spot right there in that song because it's so good.
Song. And to be fair, even though I didn't play on that record, there's a song called Dropping Anchor on that record that is, I broke the rims of snare drums playing that song. That was, people think Aronoff hits hard. He doesn't hit as hard as 26-year-old Kevin playing that song. But I actually recorded, I will give you a fun fact, my most proud recording moment. I recorded a bunch of stuff, but the most pride I have isn't even the band. Earth Andy was my band. I was the owner of that. And I love that album. We spent $1 million making it. And I love Earth Andy's stuff. But the Jimmy's Chicken Shack album called Represent was the album that's my most proud moment, because they had already done the drums and they'd done the record. And they had a falling out with their drummer or whatever. Something wasn't right. Or it might have even been a bit rate thing. Everything was done right, but the drums weren't going to be able to be mastered or whatever. And Jimmy called me and asked me to do it. And if you listen to that record, it's called RE.Present. So Represent. I showed up to the session and I'd forgotten my cymbals.
Oh, no.
And Jimmy, I felt like an asshole. And Jimmy and Frank, the engineer and producer called some friends and they got somebody to bring some cymbals over, and they were like this cobbled together like camber hats and like a couple of 2002s and some Z's for like real clanky live stuff.
Oh, wow.
Track a record with, and like a mega bell, something with like the bell was like as big as my head.
Yeah.
King, so like an anvil. And that was all we had. I had 2 crashes, this huge ride, these terrible hats. And I was like, you know what? Actually, they weren't cambers. They were whatever the pasties were that were blue marking. The ink was blue.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I can't remember what they were, but yes.
Years ago. And one of the crashes was broken. And we loaded everything up because everything had been loaded up for them to listen to it in one thing. So the songs were like just like 30-second gaps in between them.
Mm-hmm.
Every song on that record, I recorded to a click and the music already done. So I had to play to them pushing and pulling to what had existed before on the drums. I had to play to that and the click, and every song is one take. I did it all at once and then I left.
Wow.
Every song is one take.
All right. After this, I'm going to go listen to that album.
You're going to be like, Kevin, you idiot. I am really serious. That's the one I'm super proud of because, like, you know, that was under total duress and idiotic mistake. You don't show up with your plates, man. I mean,
oh man, it's so tough though. I'm picturing you like looking at what you had to work with and going like, all right, well, it got to make it work, right? And that's the sign of a true professional right there.
I was young and fiery, and I was like, screw it.
You're gonna make it work. Well, and so talking about like breaking hoops and everything, your nickname and the name that you have on Instagram and your, you know, all the things is Big Right Foot.
Right.
And I don't know if we ever talked about like where that came from. I just assumed it was because you were a heavy hitter. You are a heavy hitter.
Well, less now. We haven't seen each other play in a while.
No.
But less now. But yeah, somebody, and I don't even remember, I think it was my best friend, Nathan, a man named Nathan Brown who lives in Charlottesville and he plays in some bands up there. I think Nathan said something about that Big Right Foot one time. And I just kept that as I made that my email a long time ago, like on AOL.
Yeah.
And then I made it my Facebook, and I don't really mess around with Facebook much. I think that's just for old people to scream at each other on. But then when Instagram and Twitter and stuff came up, I was like, I'll just do that, So it just stuck, and I did. And for a while, I played a 26. I think when we met, I was playing a 26.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
And I was going to do that with Jon, but Jon has more, just kind of a punchier sound. He, I don't do his records. I did his covers record, Rancho Fiesta. But Miles McPherson does his albums with Lonnie Wilson sometimes. So like their sounds are just punchier, all 22s, Yamahas and stuff. So 26 Ludwig wasn't going to work for that sound live, so I didn't. But at the time, I was hitting that big thumpy and it just seemed to work. And now, it just doesn't make sense for me to not use it. Changing it to like Kevin Murphy. And to be fair, I stuck with that too because there's a guy that does all the hair products named Kevin Murphy. And he's squatting on all the websites.
Oh, okay.
It's Kevin Murphy got everything,
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, you need to differentiate. I like it. Stick with it. It's great. That's how I'll always think of you. So it's good.
I am hitting lighter. I adjusted my posture a little bit. It was the one thing Elitch, and I had one, like, we're friends, but we had like one lesson where we didn't hack out and we didn't shred. They literally spent the whole time working on like what my foot was doing, because sometimes it hits and then taps. It goes, and I like, and weird. If I have like a 4 on the, like if I have a boom, if I have just 2 and 4, God, it'll go, God. So I play eighth notes.
Yeah.
Just kind of taps with my hand.
Like, yeah, you're playing like ghost notes with your foot.
And then some of them are just loud. And so we worked on that, and we worked on my posture. And when I sat up straighter, it helped my back, A, but B, it made me think more about kind of what my arms were doing. And with Jon's stuff, I felt I had to make a conscious decision to sacrifice some of the power for placement. Because a lot of songs with Jon, I am between the click and him. Like he's ahead or what, because he's a very energetic dude. So I realized I had to spend a lot more time with Tonic. I was never on a click. We just played together. With Randy Hauser, I was about half and half, maybe 80% at certain tours on the click. But like, I didn't even have a whole lot of him in the mix. He was so far behind the beat. I just like made sure everybody was solid, and then he could just do what he wanted. But with Jon, he has to be very loud in my mix because he'll be in the middle of songs, and when the guitar solo starts, he'll turn around to his mic, his stage mic, and he'll tell me that he's about to count in a Dwight Yoakam song that I have never heard. And so I have to stay really on him. So to have him in my mix so loud, a lot of times I have the click going and I have him ahead of it, and I have to find a spot here.
Okay.
Tuck it in.
Yeah.
So I had to play a little more focused, a little less like.
Right.
You can play, and God love him. We all feel the same about Taylor. You can play like Taylor Hawkins did with Foo Fighters because they were all on the same page. They were all too fast.
Yeah.
They were all 12 beats ahead of where the album tempo was. But beyond that, they were all had the same energy. They were all Dave and Rami. Everybody's just like they were
energy.
They were a weapon. They were a weapon, So Taylor could just throw down. And it was and if he didn't, it was gonna suck. Right. Well, if I was throwing, in my situation, if I'm throwing down and half the band is kind of reserved and we're all chasing Jon and we're not really like together, it's trash. So the best way I could honor what they had done in the record, on the records, and also provide the right thing for live was for me to calm down and not hit as hard. I'm also 50.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I was just speaking to someone recently who was like, you know what? I just it was Stephen Perkins. He, it just kind of like paying more attention to, like how the body is reacting to things. And it's really interesting. And you have gone through, you're into health and eating healthy and like cooking good food and all of that. And I know you went through a health scare not that long ago. It scared the life out of all of us, I think. And
that was fun.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you what happened?
You did, but let's talk a little bit about it if you don't mind.
It was hypertension from various things. My family runs hot. And I was unaware of it, had migraines for like 15 years, and I didn't realize that it was that. So I was sick, and I was taking all these over-the-counter drugs, which also jack your blood pressure up. So I passed out. I finally, got myself to an emergency room, and my blood pressure was like well beyond stroke level. Like well beyond. Like if I said the numbers, everyone in your listening fan base that is a nurse or whatever would be like, "Oh, he should be dead."
Yeah.
Several hundred over a couple of hundred. And, I passed out. And one of the things they give you to drop your blood pressure when that happens is morphine. And I come to just in time for a doctor who was very arrogant, tell me, "Hey, you're in kidney failure, your blood pressure, blah, blah, blah. We're going to give you some morphine to drop your blood pressure." And I said, as I was saying, "I'm allergic to morphine." They pushed it.
Oh no.
And that's what coded me out.
Yeah.
That's what caused that was the $30,000 decision when he did that. And I was laying there thinking, man, I was passing out, worst I've ever felt. And I'm laughing about it now because like it was so absurd to be laying there. And I was thinking, I'm naked on a metal slab in San Antonio, and this cannot be how I'm going to croak. Like
No.
I was like, this is BS.
Yeah. I know that's what was going through your head. I know it is.
Garbage way out of this game.
This is not how it's going to happen.
But yeah, but I had already before that, I had already quit smoking years ago and I wasn't drinking as much. Now, that hit my kidneys so hard that I can't take ibuprofen or drink anymore. I can take a sip of wine if I want, but I can't like drink. Which is probably good because in the 90s, I drank a lot. But so I'm vegan for a lot of reasons. A, that helps, that helps. B, I'm already naturally very dense muscularly. So I don't need to do like keto to lift weights. It's like I do yoga and I do some workouts with JoJo because she knows all of her fitness stuff. I still got to lose about 30 pounds, but that's also because sometimes I can get a little vegan junk foodie.
I say all because I'm vegetarian. I say all the time, like most desserts are vegetarian, so it's not easy sometimes.
It's funny on the road when people are like caterers and stuff look very confused when they see vegan on the rider and they have to feed somebody that's vegan, and it's like I want to pull them all aside and go, have you ever been to an Indian restaurant?
Yeah,
half of it.
Yeah.
Well, most of it's vegetarian because there's like, cheese and stuff in it though. But if you take that out, it's vegan. Like most of it is. But so honestly, for health, I switched a lot of stuff up and we went a little harder. Thankfully, JoJo's super knowledgeable about that stuff. So she helped me get there and I'm still working on it. And as I delved into it after making it like a health decision, you discover some things that make you realize it like at some point, not everybody needs to face these things, but I did. And I realized, if you study a little bit and you realize that, oh, wait a minute, pigs are smarter than human toddlers. They're more emotionally aware than human toddlers. So you know what? Yeah, I've liked barbecue and bacon plenty, but I wouldn't eat a toddler.
Yeah. So
I'm not going to eat anything as smart as a toddler.
I know. And I'm laughing just because, that
it's an absurd analogy.
Right. But I understand. I do.
So my whole thing really has devolved down. I don't push it on people, but I do. When people ask, I really have worked it down to this. If I can see evidence of something showing affection, another one, if it's kind or something else, I won't eat it.
Right.
If it's that aware, I'm not going to eat it.
Yes.
It just doesn't feel right to me. If other people, and I'll get people commenting like, yeah, but have you ever had bacon? And shut up.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I've had tons of bacon and tons of barbecue. I've eaten more than my fill of that stuff. And I've made the decision for me that, I don't have carnivore's teeth. And everybody that's like the Rogans and stuff out there, like, yeah, carnivore. We have teeth like cattle. Our teeth are way more like cattle than they are like lions. So I'm just gonna, I'll eat the stuff that works for me. I go out with the guys all the time and they're like whiskey and bourbon and barbecue and meat. I don't give them shit. They don't give me shit. John will be like, what's that? I'll be like, oh, this is a, chana masala, this vegan thing I made. He'd be like, oh, give me some. And, good.
Yes. And everybody knows too that you like make the best food. And, I've heard about the legendary guacamole and I see your posts and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that looks delicious.
If I see my tour coming near you, I'm just going to make right before I get on the bus, I'm just going to make guac and like carry some Sarah guac all the way.
That would make me so happy. So happy. I'll bring some, I'll bring some of my desserts. I make cupcakes. Actually, some of the guys will tell you too. I used to bring cupcakes all the time. I make like a chocolate cupcake with a peanut butter cup baked into the middle and homemade peanut butter frosting. And that's like, I know that one's the killer. That's the plan next time you come around.
Okay. I could probably have that. You know what? I can't actually, when I eat almond butter or peanut butter now, COVID ruined it for me.
Oh no. Okay, we'll have to do something else.
But I can eat it with chocolate and it works.
Oh, so does it taste different to you?
If I just take a spoon of peanut butter and eat it, it tastes like there's curry powder on it.
Oh no. Oh no,
Really?
that's not good. That's terrible. I've heard people like coffee, it ruined coffee for them. People say it ruined like the taste of wine.
Yeah, I didn't taste it. After that COVID, I had the basic COVID. I didn't taste until January.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't taste anything for 2.5 months.
Like I was gonna say that's a couple months. That is awful. Well, I don't want to leave.
I get to go back. I asked them and they don't know yet, but I don't know how that works for this fall's basic. I hope nobody like Vinny called him and was like, "Yeah, I want to do it this year," because then I'm screwed. But,
oh no.
But I hope I get to show up this year or in the next couple, sometime soon and actually present that, because I was really bummed. I had a really cool clinic planned.
Well, and we were supposed to go to dinner that night too, right? Like we had a dinner planned and you had this clinic that you're going to present, and
I was stoked to be there, and that broke my heart. And I felt like I was going to continue the arc of my persona as far as like instruction and drumming, and the whole point was going to be like the whole theme of it was going to be how to take my job, basically. Like, I'll give you everything you need to know on how to. If you can convince John like you're cooler than me, like you can just steal my job.
There you go. That's actually a really great clinic though, because the real life lessons, I think, of being a touring drummer are something that you don't find that everywhere. You're finding lessons on how to play and how to recreate these drum sounds or whatever, but like when it comes to the real life aspect, and also I think a lot of people aren't aware that maybe it's not the life for them, because it's not easy. It's not an easy.
A lot of people are unwilling. Now the studio guys, this goes in with my stay in your lane thing from earlier. Talk to some studio guys and ask them about that. I've done a lot of studio stuff, but I'm not the guy that is doing it every day. So there are better people to say what works and what doesn't for studio stuff. But for live stuff, I think a lot of people don't realize that you don't get paid for the show. You think it's a show pay. Oh, can't take that gig. It's $300 a day, or I want $1,000 a day, or whatever for the show pay. It's not your show pay. You call it show pay, but it's not. John doesn't pay me. I give him the shows for free. And I've said this before, and people that are in the know are like, yep, shows are for free. I like playing drums. I like playing drums with my friends. I like the energy of crowds. That's been my purpose as an adult. That's easy for me. And it doesn't stress me out even when things go wrong. What you pay me for is to not be petting my dogs on the couch right there. Yeah. Dinner with my loved ones, and having a life, because when you're on the road you don't get the day at all. Right. Everybody else can go to work for 8 hours or 5 hours or whatever they do, and then they're off and they can choose what to do with their time. I cannot. I am not at home. I can't do anything else. So you pay me for the 22.5 hours a day that I'm not, that you have forced me to be away from home, right? So I like that lifestyle, and it doesn't bother me. But when I'm home, I'm totally home for months at a time, and that's great.
Yes.
But I also don't get any weekends in the summer. I don't have after this Thursday. I don't get a weekend off until October. And that and honestly, I'll give you a little hint about home life for touring drummers, and not you, but the people that are listening. What you cannot do, and typically, and people don't mean to do this, but you end up into this power dynamic with most relationships and families, to where you don't even get hobbies, because you're on the road either for months at a time if you're doing a rock tour, or from Wednesday night until Sunday morning if you're doing a country tour, touring out of Nashville. You can't come home and be like, I want to go fishing.
Right.
You're only home for 40 hours.
Yes.
Or 50 hours or 72 hours or whatever. So if you love doing something that's on the side, I love building railroad model trains or model airplanes or something. What, you're going to take 5 or 6 hours out of the 70 that you're home with your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your partner, your children, your dogs. You can't burn 10, 15 hours of your awake time.
Right.
If you're home for 3 days, you're only awake for about 24 hours of that.
Right.
You're awake. We're going to burn 10 hours of that having some fun stuff. You end up not having that. So you end up just having your life on the road and then coming home and then being of service to your friends, your family, your loved ones, because you're just not there. And you missed everything that happened on Saturday and Friday and Saturday, right?
Right. Exactly.
So it's important to let people know that when I want to do that for a living, like, all right, well, there's some things you give up for that.
Yeah. This is what it entails, right?
And this goes back to your first one too, which is like, maybe figure out, are you in it just for the drumming of it? Because now, unlike any other time in the world, in history, now you don't have to be a studio drummer or a touring drummer. I saw a post, I forget the guy's name, but he's really arrogant.
Oh no.
This drummer, he's really cocky, really mouthy, like weapons grade mouthy, even more than me. And I stumbled across it because somebody shared it with me, like, look at this guy. And the funny thing is, this guy is insanely talented. Really, just an insane. I honestly, I can't. I'm not even like not saying his name because I don't want to say it, because you know me, I'd be like, it's Bill Schmidlap. I forget his name, can't remember it, but he's really good, really fast. One of the math pattern guys. And for a minute, I watched a few things. I was like, because it's not my thing. And then I saw a post of his that were like, he literally wrote something to the effect of like, I'm not interested in playing music with people. I do this because I want to push myself on the drums and be as good as I can be. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Okay. Immediately, I was just like, oh, yeah, all right, great. All right, now you can do that.
Yeah, do your thing, right?
By all means, everyone do your thing. Don't do mine. What's good for me works for me. I have daddy jobs. Like I don't play like Eric Moore. I don't want to play like Eric Moore.
Right.
I've seen Ronald Bruno. It's frightening. Yeah. It's frightening to watch him play.
Right.
That's great for him. And he's better at it than I am, And so like everyone should just want to play like themselves. But I remember seeing that, having this moment when I read that, and I was like, wow, I had a total impression of this guy. It's like this. I was like looking down at him for a minute. And then I read that. I was like, oh, well, you know what? He is in the lane he has chosen and ripping. So by all means, is it something that I can appreciate? Sure. Is it something that I want to implement or worry about? Not particularly.
Yeah.
Because for me, the drumming is about a support. It's about something else, and it isn't better or worse. It's just what I've chosen.
Absolutely.
So for now, the great thing about now is that if somebody's like, I want to build an online base of my, I want to use my chops or my personality or whatever to build this fan base. And maybe I'll parlay that into the gigs I want to do. I would like to skip over 12, 15 years in a van and trailer. And I want to just like cherry pick later. Now you can do that. Does it make some old guys like me go like, yeah, man, you should earn your licks? And I have said that in the past. Yeah, it does. And I realized that I sounded just as idiotic saying that as the people now. They're like, well, I had to pay for college. Kids now should have to pay for college too. Shut up, Grandpa. Shut up. Just because you had a hardship, you want to force everybody to go through that same hardship? Don't be an idiot. But the path that takes that long path to getting those gigs, there are some skills you learn along the way that you cannot learn on your own in the shed or in the basement. So you are going to lack some things. Is the artist you work for later potentially going to care? I don't know. But you do learn things like people all the time are like, why do you have your kick drum pedal and you have this other one next to it? Like, what's that one for? Is that for a loop or something? I'm like, no. you put your spare behind you on that spare snare drum, right? And they're like, well, yeah. And I was like, and if you break your pedal or the beater flies out or something snaps, what do? You do what everybody does. You play the floor tom kick pattern on your floor tom.
Yeah.
A, that sounds like crap. B, you have now given up one of your subdivision hands, and it is now the kick drum hand. And you have to finish out an entire song without a hi-hat or a ride, but now you just have, I Love Rock and Roll effectively. You're playing the kick drum part on your floor tom and the snare part. It sounds thin. It sounds crappy. Everybody on the stage is now looking at you because it feels completely different than it once than it did 20 minutes ago. Or you cannot do that, and you can just put your pedal right next to your other pedal, and it'll hit the corner of your kick drum, and it won't sound as good as the primary, but it'll still go boom. And you can keep playing you can just keep playing the show. And then 3 minutes later, when the song ends, you can just switch.
So good. Yeah.
You learn those having a pedal fail on you in front of a crowd that is bigger than you wanted it to be.
Right.
At the time, So
I know.
I think that people staying in their lane is, it's easy to say that, but I think that my point with that really is just that it's best if people choose they're at a time now where they can do anything they want to become a celebrity. There are awards given out now.
Yeah.
Drumming personality.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is, but you can go after it. And if you want to turn that into touring later, okay. If you don't want to do it and you're just playing drums because you want to be the fastest guy, or you want to be the guy with the best flow, where you're putting all these patterns together and these groupings together, if that's what titillates you about drums, that's cool. But I'll be an asshole if I see you trying to give lessons on how to be a studio player.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to be like, no, you're a fraud when it comes to that. Just do your thing. But I think a lot of people get bound by the way they did it is the only way to do it. I think there's a lot to be learned from getting on the road, playing with other people. And to me, that's paying your dues. But I also am aware of the fact that there are other avenues now that are available. And I feel bad for younger players because there's less venues. There were so many places I could play when I was in my 20s. I spent my entire decade of my 20s playing club after club, 200, 250 shows a year. Just a club an hour and a half away from the last club. And all of those clubs are condos now.
Yeah, I know. It is. It's like that everywhere. And it is really sad. And I actually have seen I've seen some new venues opening up around me, around the Boston area. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I've been to 2 new venues actually.
I hope they can stay open.
Right? I know. Fingers crossed. It's
so honestly, these kids, and I say kids, but people in their 20s, they're like, man, screw it, I want to make it. They don't have the opportunities that I had as far as being able, the cost of living was lower. So my cut could be $300 a week.
Right.
I was in my van and trailer with my 6 bros, and we could survive doing 47 weeks a year up and down the East Coast, from Toad's Place to Galaxy 5, just up and down the East Coast. We could do that for a decade. And now you don't have that. It costs more to do it. Buying the van doesn't cost $7,000. It costs $34,000. Insurance costs more. Everything costs more. So it's harder for them to do it. Why wouldn't they stay at home and take out a loan for $4,000 or borrow money from their mom or their sister and set up a bunch of cameras and work on being a personality? Why the hell wouldn't they do that?
Right.
If I was 22, it's exactly what I'd be doing.
Absolutely.
So I've kind of changed my tune on how to get there, but I do hope, it's real fun to get the cute kids. Oh, they're cute and they're kids and they can play drums. Awesome. It's really fun to get the people with the big followers that, but that's great. But I think sometimes you have to find those people that maybe they don't have a massive following because they don't put the effort into that, but they have some quality stuff that is in their lane that they have mastered, that they're showing. I think the perfect balance is somebody like Zuckerman. Where he's a drumming personality. His following is pretty immense.
Yes.
He's an educator. And when he does educate, he isn't full of shit. He's an educator. He knows what he's doing. He does have the history. He did pay his dues, but he has also embraced this new technology. And let's be honest, you strip all of that away, he is a filthy, disgusting, monstrously talented drummer.
He really is. I just saw a clip of him last night that just blew me
Same clip.
Yeah, okay, so we're thinking about this.
I saw that same clip and I was just
my gosh, Kevin. Okay, I'm gonna have to link that clip in the description so everyone can see it because it was so
like
yes.
and I've only talked to him really briefly once. He's a sweetheart. So I think guys like that, they're the good ones. And you notice, and here are the good ones. And I understand there's a stylistic thing. People like when they're watching boxing, they like some like Canelo, some like Mayweather, some like mouthy sportsmen. You know, I get that personality has a lot to do with it for a lot of people. But for me, it means a lot to me when I see somebody like Ash or Todd, who're just not arrogant. They're better than everybody else. And tell me the last time you heard Benny Greb say something arrogant.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're so right.
And he's better than everybody. And he's not arrogant about it. And if anything, he's really humble and he just like he stays focused. To me, the guys that are playing on that level that don't need to strut, those and you know, it's kind of like I remember somebody saying, who was it? It was like Cindy Blackman was playing something. Somebody was like, yeah, I don't like her drumming. I was like, you don't like her drumming? Fuck, what's wrong with you? Yeah. What do you like about her drumming? Is it because she's a her? Or is it because you don't like her hair? You don't like the band she's in? Like, she's a great drummer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think that, and she's cool. I think a lot of people get known because they're cocky or whatever. You know, they're like, but you can always call them out. The people it's funny, the people that are most arrogant, inevitably, they're either dead right because they stay in their very shallow lane, or it's a joke. Like I've seen some real, very busy, sloppy, velocities are all over the place, just ego drummers who are like, and their captions are like, my groove is impeccable.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. You can't quit screwing with the hi-hat and adding you can't play a octave to save your life. You know, but
my goodness.
Then you look at Todd.
Yeah.
And you look at some of these other players, you're just like, oh, yeah. I watched a clip the other day of my friend Megan Coleman playing with a woman named Yola, and she was playing this tune. It was just, I think her last single or whatever. There's this kind of thing at the end where they kind of vamp a little bit, and I was watching her like play this groove was just silky. It was and I remember like I remember seeing her post about stuff earlier, and it was she didn't bring attention to herself. It was about the artist. And I was like, yeah, if you get like the math drummers in on this, they'd be like, check out this thing I'm playing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Like, look at this painting I'm a part of. And it was really, it was beautiful to read that, you know, and it was, I like players like that. I think I aspire to be more like that. Cause I can sometimes get cocky about what I think I know.
Well, you know, it's the players like that who have longevity in the industry and just can transition from one thing to the next throughout their career. And, you know, that's a good thing. And I mean, I think you've done that for yourself through the different gigs that you've had and the progression that you've had. And you're at a point where you have this really great gig. And, you know, like you said, you're surrounded by good people and, you know, and one of those people I just have to give a shout out to, Will Easterwood, because he made one of the greatest snare swaps ever recently.
I've never seen a better one. And the funny thing is, I see all these other people share. There's like your friend Danny. I know you're friends with DC and with Danny, and one of these days you're going to facilitate me meeting him, and I'm just going to be like, "Hey, man," and then walk off. I don't know if we'll be pals or not, but I love him. but people would be like sharing that snare swap that they did. And I was like, hey, I give his tech some credit. The snare he's swapping out is like 25 pounds.
Yes. Yeah.
But I see other drum swaps, and all of them are like, man, they're good. My friend Noel was with Freese on the Sting tour. He swapped out really quick. I was like, man, Noel, that was great. When Will did that with me, I literally just turned my head and went, snares are gone. And he was like, he took off. And then the next thing I know, he slaps me on the back, and I go to the cymbals, and stuff happens right here.
Yeah.
I'm about to hit a snare. I'm about to hit him, and I go, fop, and it's on.
It was so good. He just reached in there and got the snares like just in time. It was perfect. It was like, yeah, that blew me away.
Jeff Brown just recently took over as my tech because Bear moved over to stage management. And Jeff was like, man, we're gonna have to come up with a better snare swap so I can like push Bear out of the way. I was like, please God, do not stress me to that level.
No. And that is such a stressful situation.
Bear is still pissed off that you and Paul are no longer with Zildjian, because he was like, yep, I guess I'm never getting those clusters back, huh?
Oh no.
You can't get a hold of anybody. Man, I'm sure you'll be able to buy something Paul's making soon. I see some clips. I see symbols
Yes. Let me just make a really quick note, and I'm gonna wrap, and then I'm just gonna ask you about that. Okay. Hold on.
I want to know something. Are you playing?
I am, I'm waiting for my drums to come, and then I'm going to spend some time and get myself back together. I miss playing so much. I've literally been like sitting in this chair hustling for like 2 years. So
because I think that I've had this conversation with some other friends of yours before.
Yes.
I think people, they know your name, obviously. And, when you get people like, I saw your Daru, I saw that clip of you and Daru the other day. And the funny thing is, I think you must have filmed that like an hour after. You must have filmed that within a few hours of me actually running into Daru, because he was.
Yes, I did, because you guys were at the scratch day, right?
Jojo and I just went into Forks to get drum heads because I don't want to bug Aquarian right now. They're they're relocating from their house, and Brady was like, "Man, call me later for heads." And I was like, "I'll call you in June for the tour heads, but I'll just go buy some at Forks," because I think that like people that have endorsements, I don't think they realize how often they take advantage of the reps.
Yeah,
I'm going to go buy a couple of tom mounts and stuff. Like I'm not, Brady treats me right, and I've been with Aquarium for a real long time. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to go make him dig through a shipping container to find me 7 heads that match. Like, I can go to Forks and spend $80. It's okay. But anyway, I was in there. I didn't even know it was Gretsch Day. But the reason I brought that up was to say that, like, there are artists, reps like you, like Chris Stanky, like Andrew Shreve, like Garrison, that are guys, women and men. I never met your counterpart on the West Coast with Zildjian. What was her name?
Kirsten. Yeah.
Never met her because it just never happened. But like, there are names that there are people that have been that you know and you respect because of what they do. And I think people know you from that and know you from what you're doing now. But I don't think they realize that you can drum, that you play.
Yeah, I know.
It's a bummer to not see you. Sometimes I'm like looking at your feet and I'm like, oh, come on, post. Let me see you playing.
Yeah, I get that. I get that a lot. Like, why don't you post drumming videos? I'm like, I'm literally you're
too busy to drum.
Honestly, it's life is so freaking crazy. And let me just I'm just gonna wrap this and click off the recording, and then I'll tell you a little bit more. All right. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it, and it was awesome to catch up with you.
Thank you. I get off on tangents. I'm sorry.
No.
You ask a question, I'm like, beep, boing.
We like it. It's a good thing. And we touched upon a bunch of great stuff. So I appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you when you come back through this way.
When we hang up, I'm going to dig through this is Jon's first kind of like headlining tour of mid-level headliner stuff. I think in the next year or two, we'll be doing the big sheds as a headliner.
Awesome.
I think. But I'm going to see if we get near. I'm going to see if we can get near Boston. And if we do, I got you. I want to see you. It's been too long. So thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. And I will actually be in Nashville mid-July for the Music City Drum Expo.
Awesome. If you let me know when you're coming in, because even if I have shows that weekend or whatever, if you're trailing out on Sunday or you're coming in on like a Wednesday, I might be able to catch you on one of the ends.
Absolutely. I'll let you know.
You bring vegan treats, I'll make you some chana masala or something.
Yay. I love it. Thank you, Kevin. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. Join us each Tuesday for new episodes of Sarah Hagan Backstage.